Vikings talk. It's Purple Daily on Score North and ScoreNorth.com. Purple Daily, presented by Surly Brewing Company.
Cameron Bonham, first of all, is somebody we were really excited about. He's somebody we studied in Cleveland as a safety projection. And then when obviously I get to know this roster and you're going into free agency, what needs do you think you have? And I'm looking at him like, hey, this guy has something in him. And so when we talked about this trade, we talked about the NFL and what it is now. And I got Ed Donatel and I got Mike Pettin in the lab, and they're going to figure out ways to use our depth, use their coverage skill sets, use them in a diversity way to get them on the field. Ultimately, it's about getting your best players on the field, and I think we'll be able to do that.
That's an interesting comment there from Kwesi, and we'll definitely get to it early here in this episode, which is Purple Daily Reads the Comments. We dive into the comments section multiple times per week and kind of turn the show over to you guys. TCL is one of the world's best-selling consumer electronics brands. They have a new lineup of award-winning TVs delivering the most entertainment with stunning resolution, all at an affordable cost. Enjoy more of the things you love with TCL. Mackie, Judd, executive producer Declan. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die. And Judd, I'm hoping you can shine some light here. I know you've been doing some digging this week on how the Vikings may view defensive schemes and just some things they could do creatively. And he kind of alluded to, hey, we love Cam Bynum and obviously Harrison Smith. And we just drafted Lewis Cine. And, if you're just looking at traditional NFL defenses, well, you got 3 guys for 2 spots. And he was kind of saying, maybe we have 3 guys for 3 spots, which we'll get to here. But let's turn it over here to the listeners and start with a couple similarly framed questions here. And you can always hit us up via the Score North app. There's a feedback tab at the bottom. You can send us critiques, concerns, if you've got theories on things, and we bring them to the show. You can always follow us at Score North on any social media platform, TikTok and Instagram. We're super active on right now, Twitter. Michael McDonnell, not to be confused with my favorite yacht rock crooner. Such a long way to go. Mackie says, we reject 500 football, yet let's trade out of the 12 spot for the 3rd best safety in the draft that you could have traded up for in the 2nd round. There's no comparison on tape between Cine and Hamilton in terms of their impact on the field. Paul Allen better look out. Seems like Mackie is gunning for the number 1 in-house yes man job.
Incredible.
Defend yourself.
Well,
yeah.
I am a homer.
But I don't recall you being thrilled about that trade. So
I didn't love the value of the trade, but I think Lewis Cine, I mean, listen, I'm fine with Lewis Cine as a player. There's another comment here that might help bring this conversation full circle.
Sure.
Matthew Bidlon Bidlin, maybe it's pronounced, via the Score North app said, saw a story on the internet that has claimed victory in saw a story that the internet has claimed victory in deciphering the top of the Dallas Cowboys big board that Jerry Jones flashed toward the cameras on a sheet of paper during his post-draft press conference. Old senile Jerry Jones is like, see, look at our board. And his son's like, put that down, dude. I think he showed it after the 1st round, actually. Mm-hmm. So people deciphered this, and they went through the blurry, they zoomed in, and they deciphered that Lewis Cine was 13th on the Cowboys big board. And Kwesi mentioned after the 1st round, he didn't say exactly where Lewis Cine was, but he said he's a player we were considering in the teens. Mm-hmm. And so this isn't really a question for Matthew. It's more of a, what do you think of the fact that Lewis Cine might, the consensus boards on the internet among the mockers had him at like 32.
Right.
But the Cowboys had him at 13. The Vikings were looking at him in the teens.
Yep.
I think this is where we need to take a step back a little bit. Like Malik Willis, everybody was wrong about. The mocking community. Malik Willis was a 3rd-round pick. Quarterback desperate teams passed on him. He was not ever a threat to go number 2 overall, as it turns out, or 6 overall. So there's and generally the consensus mocking big boards get it pretty right. It's never like, whoa, where'd that number 2 overall pick come from? Hadn't heard of that guy.
Right.
But there's players that might be 20 slots or 50 slots above or below where the mock draft community has them. If the Cowboys and the Vikings had Lewis Cine in the teens, why does it matter what the mocking community said about him? That's my thing about Cine. Yeah. So first commenter, Michael, I know you've been crunching the film, but if NFL teams had Cine in the teens and WalterFootball.com had him at 32, all right, I think I'm going to defer to the teams on this one.
Yeah, I would need to see more teams though. Because it's like we mock the Cowboys at times, and so like I can't now say, well, see, Dallas did that.
I mean, they drafted Micah Parsons last year.
I don't have a problem
Trayvon
with
Diggs.
taking the guy where they took him, and I don't really have a problem with passing up a safety at 13 or 12 or 13. My whole problem is the return for the trade, and also you potentially passed on a receiver who, if plugged in, could have made your offense completely potent. So, like, I don't want to fight the scene fight here. Like, where they took him, I'm fine with. And you know what? Maybe he was from 18 to 32. I don't know. I almost don't care because I think he's going to be a good player. I want to keep the focus of where my potential angst was, which is, one, I would have stayed there. Two, I wouldn't have taken a safety there. And three, I would have taken a receiver who could have stepped in with Jefferson and Thielen and made me potent. And then if Thielen left, was still really good.
Okay,
So
but
the scene thing, I just don't care that much about.
But now
Like,
that
it's
they've
fine.
drafted Cine, so that, everyone knows how you feel about that. But like now that they've drafted Cine,
Yeah.
and he's praised Bynum, and they've got Harrison Smith.
Yep.
Is it three guys for two spots, or do you? Because he was kind of alluding there to, we might be able to put all three. These guys are. Donatell's going to go into the lab with Mike Pettin, and we might actually find a spot for all three of these guys.
Yes, I think what we're going to see is this. I think technically the term is going to be dime packages. They're going to use dime packages, but I don't think they're going to play the extra. I don't think they're going to play the fourth corner. Love it.
Same page here.
I don't think they're going to play the fourth corner. I think they're going to play three corners and three safeties. But here's what makes sense. And I think down the road we'll probably strip out the term dime package and come up with a new term, because what it's really going to be is, especially in a 3-4, four linebackers, right? That's how we think of it. I think what we're going to see is the safety and linebacker in this league is becoming interchangeable. It's becoming that the Vikings, the linebacker that they took, I think in the 4th round, if I'm not mistaken, looks like a safety. He does not look like your traditional linebacker, big guy, stout against the run. And what's the most important thing now? Shutting down the pass. Like, you want to stop the run, but you've got guys that can do that up front. And more importantly, your safeties supposedly should love to hit. Cine is a guy who is going to play often like a linebacker. And so what I think you're going to see is, I think you're going to see the Vikings go, get ready for it, hand on the button bar. A lot of two deep safeties, shell look. Okay.
Come on. Football.
And I think that's going to be Cine and Bynum. And no, I'm not joking here. And I think that this is not a joke. This is serious, damn it. Take it seriously. It's football.
Football, yeah, football. Football.
And I think what you're going to see is this. I think Cine is going to play the role that for years often Harrison Smith played. I think Harrison Smith is going to be freed up to almost be a pseudo linebacker, because now he can confuse and disguise. You don't know what he's doing, which is what, Zimmer used him brilliantly that way for years, right? Yeah. But like I think we're hung up on who are the linebackers going to be? What are the linebackers going to do? What are the line? Do you have enough depth there? I think their depth chart is basically LB/S.
That's interesting.
And so, keep in mind, football now, in some ways, in my opinion, is becoming like basketball, where it's positionless, especially on defense.
Yeah, there's like LB/S is kind of, it seems like a new fun hybrid. And there's been LB/edge for a number of years with 3-4. I mean, what's Micah Parsons?
Right.
He's a linebacker, but he's an edge. He's just, he's a terror. I don't know. I don't really care what position he is. He's out there.
Right.
And he's a freak athlete.
And
He's amazing.
And you don't know offensively. And that's what O'Connell, I think, is going to use this to his advantage. Zimmer, night and day, thought about, from a defensive standpoint, how can I stop quarterbacks, right? Like, what can I do? O'Connell is going to think this way. What do I hate to see? Because I'll deploy what I hate to see because there ain't no offensive coach who's going to be like, I love that look.
Yep.
The more confusion that you cause. And so O'Connell is going to think of it not from a defensive first standpoint, but from an offensive first, and then help out with ideas that come from that point of view.
I love it. Inject this into my veins right here.
I should charge extra for that. That was a lot. I brought a lot for that question.
We just want good football players playing good football.
Amen.
We'll figure out where to put those football players. Okay, Josh Salvino via the Score North app says, as we look at how the Vikings offense can be top 10 with a new regime and offensive-minded coach, let's also look at the Rams defense for a change. How good were they ranked? How good were they last year and postseason in comparison to the Vikings? I'm glad you asked, Josh. I just happen to have rankings right here to compare.
Shocking.
Crazy. All right. The Rams defense last year was tied for 7th in yards per play, 15th in scoring defense, and they were 5th in DVOA, which is more of an all-encompassing contextual ranking.
Okay.
So 7th, 15th, 5th. So let's call them a top 10-ish defense. You know, they weren't the best defense in the league, but they were definitely a top 10 defense that maybe their scoring defense wasn't quite as good as some of the underlying metrics, and I don't know what I'd have to go dig deeper. Maybe they were bad in the red zone or something. The Vikings were 26th in yards per play, 24th in scoring, and 16th in DVOA. Now, I will mention, before Danielle Hunter's injury, the Vikings were ranked much higher in all of these categories. So I feel like there's a little bit of a misnomer about the Vikings defense that, the whole thing's a train wreck. Well, it's a train wreck without Danielle Hunter the last couple of years. But when he was on the field for 7 games, they were actually number 1 in pressures, and they were definitely higher than 26th in yards per play. I think they were top 10 at one point. So interesting to note, though, the 2018 Vikings in Cousins' first season, that defense was better across the board than the Rams defense was last year. They were 4th in yards per play, 9th in scoring, and 3rd in DVOA.
Yes.
Of course, people just give that a pass like, well, if the Vikings just had a good defense, well, they actually did in 2018-19, the first 2 years of this Kirk experiment, and they didn't cash in. So
2018, unmitigated disaster. Like, go look at go look at the record and what that team did, and then go look at the components.
And it was the offense's fault primarily.
Yes.
There were some defensive
To which
meltdowns
we
there, too.
blame John DiFilippo. He was the problem.
Just cut him out. Yep. Paul Liu via the Score North app says, have you guys discussed the theory that the Vikings moved back in the first round due to budget issues as suggested by Charlie Walters this week? See, I don't really get this thing.
Yes, we did. And I think you found that the price point difference was not enormous.
It's like, if you look at the slot values, I'm pretty sure the difference was like maybe a couple $1 million to the cap or something. But again, the Vikings, it's not like baseball where teams are stripping their payroll down to $20 million or $50 million. In the NFL, there's a salary cap and a floor. So you can't just, it's not like the Vikings are going into budget cut mode and they're just going to spend $75 million. They're spending the same amount of money. It would just, if there's a budgetary concern here, it would be, okay, we want to save a couple million. I don't think they did this, but we want to save a couple million for this other player that's going to be paid. I don't think that was an issue.
Well, I think Charlie's point was that the Vikings are still going to have to, for a couple of years, write big checks to Rick and Mike, and that is true. But I will say this in football. My theory is this. If you're going to go cheap, it's not the football team because of your point, Phil. It's things around the team, business administration people. Like, you start to fire people who we don't even know because that's how you trim actual payroll. In football, the payroll is the payroll. And yes, at times teams do dumb things and probably try and save. But I think if we were to say the Wilfs are in trouble, like financially they are in trouble here, we would see far more activity from almost a business standpoint than the actual roster itself. And I'm going to tell you right now, they have a lot of people employed at that place.
Who would you fire specifically? Pull out a list of random people and just call them out.
I am not these. No, that's not nice. These people are
Bill.
trying to. No, these people are trying to get by. But let me just say, I am pretty convinced that
Sharon,
TCO,
you're fired.
that
Sorry.
TCO's janitorial staff, sanitation engineers are there on a nightly basis, and they have not cut back.
Yeah, I don't think we should be cutting back on the sanitation engineers of that
Do not.
facility or stadium.
Please don't.
Comment.
All right, Justin Baker via YouTube says, on one hand, Judd criticizes Kirk Cousins for being too risk-averse. On the other hand, Judd thinks the general manager is too risky for trading with the Packers to get an additional second-round pick. Hypocrite.
Different things. Very different things. They are entirely different. And look, I saw, I think it was what, Phil, ESPN, they had a guy who did like the top 5 draft trades.
Yeah, Kevin Seifert threw that out this morning.
Yeah, and I think at 3, he put that Packers Vikings trade.
Policing.
Advantage
And it was even
Vikings.
more. And he said it was an advantage Vikings because they were taking from the Packers specifically.
Yeah. Now, I disagree, but I get his point, and only time will tell. Like, it's a great discussion. Like, I think it's a great discussion. As far as Kirk goes, Kirk has the talent, my point is, to take risks. Kwesi, I don't know. Like, I don't know a thing about him yet. He's just started, all right? Kirk, I've watched since 2018. I can tell you what I want to see Kirk do and not do. In 3 years, Kwesi, I'll say the same thing. Like, I might say that was a genius trade. I was wrong. His risks are great. So, like, we always try and pigeonhole, like, Judd or Phil or Declan. You said this about this guy and this. They're at very different points in what I've seen. Very different points. And that Packer trade is very interesting. I love our debate about that because we'll just wait and see now.
I don't think there's anything. Well, I would say a couple things. I think you have to wait and see on players, but I think you have to make a decision on whether it was a good trade or not before knowing who the players were, because otherwise you're kind of playing the results. The process here is what I love. And ESPN.com had them as they net gained the value of a third-round pick basically with that trade with the Packers. Mm-hmm. And so I love that you're making them pay a tax to an in-division opponent to move up and take a risk on a wide. I think the risk is the Packers. Now if they were right about Christian Watson, right?
Yes.
If they were right about him, all right, congratulations. But to me, the risk is, okay, we're going to trade with an in-division opponent, give them an extra second-round pick, and move up for a Division I AA wide receiver and hope that he can connect with Aaron Rodgers here in the next couple of years.
Yeah, I think I disagree with the trade and your point, but, like, it's fun to talk about. But I don't, like, get this. Kirk Cousins, I've got a book on. I know Kirk Cousins. Kwesi did something I didn't agree with, but I don't have a book on Kwesi at all. So, like, don't try and say, well, Judd thinks this and thinks that. Look, the world is not black and white.
I mean, you're either risky or you're not. I think you need to pick a lane. Either be pro risk or anti risk.
You need to be risky when it makes sense, but unnecessary risks can be dumb.
Okay. Dale Boylan has his sights set on me here via the YouTube comment section. Hey, Phil. I love these. Hey, Mackie.
Mackie. I like
Hey, Mackie. Why don't you pull your head out of your keister?
Yeah.
All right, Dale Boylan says, hey, Phil, did you notice your top quarterback, Malik Willis, wasn't drafted until the middle of round 3? You know, I did not notice that, Dale, so I appreciate you pointing that out to me very generously. I think the Titans didn't they? It's very exciting for them.
The Birmingham Stallions.
If you recall, Phil, what I said about Malik, quote, he's not accurate enough. Passes you can get away with in college are picked off in the pros. I guess more scouts saw him like I did than your man crush. I vividly remember you thinking he would be an upgrade over Kirk. First of all, that's a lie, okay? At no point did I ever say that Malik Willis himself is a better quarterback than Kirk in the first couple years. The discussion was about value, a rookie scale contract, whether it's Malik or somebody else. Would you rather have a rookie scale contract quarterback who can escape and make big plays, maybe not as good, but then you get an extra $30+ million to spend on the rest of your team? That's the discussion, guy. Apparently, Phil and Judd were wrong about the direction the draft would go for the Vikings. They thought wide receiver in the first was possible, if not probable. Wrong. All right, Dale, congrats, dude. You know what, Dale, actually, we're going to quit the show. You just host it from now on. You know, you got all the answers. You watch all the tape. You were clearly right about everything in this draft. And so
send me your
congratulations to Dale is the new host of Purple Daily.
Your schedule. See ya. Bye.
Okay.
This gives me an opportunity to not only not quit the show, but to now host the show with my good friend Dale while drinking a Surly coffee bender. I believe it's a Saturday. Yeah, it's a gorgeous Saturday. So what am I going to do? That's right. I'm going to take the mug, and instead of putting a cup of Joe in there.
Are you pouring another one? Didn't you pour one on Friday too?
This is a continuation. It's a callback, okay? People get it. Coffee Bender is just one, as Dex can tell you, it's one of many of the great products from Surly Brewing. To me, it all starts with the Furious, but I mean, we got what, Dex? Drips and Drops. We've got Supreme Havoc Machine. So I encourage you on this weekend, on this Saturday, if you don't have the Surly in the fridge, go to the liquor store, come home, of course, drink responsibly, but enjoy like I'm doing.
Look at you.
Dale, now back to you.
What a champion.
Oh, Phil.
Dale?
Dale, right, where's Dale?
Well, before I leave the show and hand the baton off to Dale, let me tell you about my friends at Federated Mutual Insurance Company here, okay? Over 100 years of experience. And also, one of the cool things about Federated is they have kind of a training camp for their own reps where they go through a several-month training program in Owatonna before they get assigned to regional offices throughout the country. And they specialize in core industries that they know and understand rather than trying to sell as many policies as possible. So you know that you're getting someone very knowledgeable in a field that your business operates in, and you can have a trusted partnership. FederatedInsurance.com, where it's our business to protect yours. All right, Purple Daily reads the comments. Continues here.
Oh.
Nicholas Jacob via the Score North app says, are any of y'all going to the game in London? That'd be fun.
It could be fun. Never been to London. Never been to Europe.
I wonder if Surly would want to put something
once.
together with us. Go do a couple live events. I've never been to Europe either. Been to Mexico about 100 times in college, but
Been to Europe once.
Mexico.
Jolly old time.
I think we should put something together. Would you guys want to? I don't know. If we put together something with a couple of our partners, I wonder how many people would want to go across the pond.
Well, I mean, it'd be fun, but then I have to fly all that way as opposed to coming downstairs and sitting on my couch at 8:30 on a Sunday,
it's
and
kinda
then
rough.
I'd have the whole day to bounce around and do stuff after we get done with
Forced
that line.
conversations on the airplane and airport for Judd. That'd be great too.
Yeah, and that's a long flight.
Hello.
For Phil, it'd be a really long flight.
Hello.
Oh, jolly good, yeah, jolly good ho. Yeah, but I could go see some places like Beatles landmarks. I'll think about.
I'll go with you for that.
Yeah, I'm interested, but
And I like to
it
see
is a little bit of a
soccer match,
long travel week.
Football. Oh,
I'd
I
like
like
to see a
football
soccer.
over there.
Yeah, you're
Rain
right.
Man via the YouTube comment section. Rain Man says this: Kirkholm syndrome is a condition where some fans develop a psychological bond to box scores, causing them to ignore how they're held hostage by an overwhelming gravitational pull toward 500 that's never going to let them experience a championship. Kirkholm syndrome.
I read this to Judd, I think either on Monday or 2 Mondays ago. Yes, it's a great find.
That's really good.
And then Graham, we're going to finish off here with, this is a story from Graham. I love this. I just wanted to share a quick story from Edmonton. I had a fellow Viking fan who I'd never met before approach me yesterday on his way to work. I was outside, headed off to work as well, standing outside enjoying the rain, and a guy came out of his car after pulling over and said, I drive by your parked truck every day on my way to work. He's got a Vikings decal, a picture on the back of his truck. Mm-hmm. And it's nice to see a fellow Vikings fan in Edmonton. And he said he loves the decal. Then he went back to his car and gave me a Justin Jefferson rookie card. I said he's the best and thanks. After a very fitting skull, dude, we both left. Pretty cool to know that Vikings fans are everywhere and we share a special bond no matter where we are. I never would have expected something like that. But truthfully, Vikings fans are the best in the world. So I guess I can't be too surprised. It is cool, man. The fact that, people flew in from all different corners of the country for the Surly Purple Daily draft party, and the people that jump on the show. You guys had a Wild fan from Sweden?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Last week.
Sweden was on. Yeah.
I think it's awesome, man. Vikings fans tortured all over the world.
Yeah, but they're passionate, man. It's great to see.
Yep. So, Graham, thanks for that nugget and for sending in the photo here. That is a wrap on Purple Daily Reads the Comments. We'll always take your theories, your criticisms, your critiques, and you'll see Dale hosting the show tomorrow, I think, here
Dale,
on the Purple Daily.
availability,
what's
please.
up? It's your friend Judd.
All right, guys. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Purple Daily, Daily Vikings Entertainment.